Do you love America?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm in the middle of a very delicate judicial process.
Yeah, you are.
And there are rumors that it was instigated by, perhaps, the number one superpower.
Really?
So I have to be very careful what I say.
You think that's true?
Well,
no way.
If you're going through life in LA with that haircut.
What do you think of my haircut, by the way?
Shit. Thinking that everything is just fair. Like, your view of the world is just like there's a judge, and there's a lawyer, and there's the police, and everything's just fair. I'll put this to your game. Now you're going to talk about elections, controlling a country. You're going to talk about war. You're going to talk about some of the most famous people on the internet pushing ideas that you don't like or going against your narratives. And then you have to sit there and analyze as a professional and say, would there be some degree of cheating or snakery involved in this? It doesn't take much research to understand how governments have always worked throughout history and how they're currently working now. They want certain things done, and they're not going to let their own laws get in the way. So if you're the most famous man in the world at the time, I got arrested, I was the most Googled man on the planet.
You were.
I was the most Googled man on the planet with the number one demographic they're most afraid of, which is military-age males, because they want them to go die in ditches or build the roads and build the bridges and work jobs and pay taxes and be depressed and miserable because there's no future for most men, which is why everyone's gambling on shitcoins in the first place, because they understand that if they go and get an engineering degree, they're never going to have any money, so there's no point becoming an engineer. So when the bridge collapses in Baltimore, it takes 9 years to build a bridge in the most powerful country in the world because we have no engineers, because everyone's gambling on shitcoins instead. And I don't blame them, because they're trying to escape the Matrix, because the Matrix is worst for military-age males. And I'm telling this to them, and they want to get rid of me. Do you think I've needed to ever have committed a crime? Do you think I've needed to have done anything wrong? Or do you think someone could just make a phone call and someone can say, just fix it? That's how the world works.
Let me ask you this serious question. Have you ever changed a public view or belief of yours based off like external pressure from like state or a government or a country?
If I had, I wouldn't have gone to jail.
Ooh.
Because that's what they do. They don't pressure you they don't intimidate you with violence initially. What they do is they offer you large sums of money, primarily. Most avenues to fame, to super fame, and I don't want to be arrogant, but I believe I have super fame. I'm one of the most Googled men on the planet.
You have a large account.
Yeah, I mean, it's bigger than yours.
It's not saying much.
Most of the avenues to super fame are gate-kept, right? So YouTube can gatekeep you, your manager can gatekeep you, your producer can gatekeep you, a record label can gatekeep you, a sports team can gatekeep you. There's only certain things you can say before you end up losing your contract with whoever. And that team, that manager, whatever, those walls can be pressured into getting rid of you. I managed to become monumentally successful without any kind of gatekeeper. They kicked me off all of the social media. It didn't work. I don't have a manager. I don't have a producer. I don't need a record label.
You have a manager?
No, it's all just me, which is effectively how they get away with what they get away with. That's how the world works. So what they do with me, I can only speak from my own experiences. They come along and they say, here's $55 million. You're gonna be sponsored by XYZ, but you're gonna have official opinions on these topics.
No way.
And when you say no to that contract, which infuriates them, by the way, they're not used to people saying no to money. It's also why they're after Trump, because they can't bribe him. He's 70-something and he's rich. You can't bribe him with money. He doesn't care. And that annoys them, because especially when weak people become rich, when strong people become rich, they understand the realities of the world. But when weak people become rich, like crypto dorks, they think that money is everything and they think they can buy everyone. And when they find someone they can't buy, they get very angry. So when you turn these contracts down, they get very angry and they start to say things like, well, you're very famous and you've had a long and interesting past, Andrew, and you might need important friends one day. This kind of veiled bullshit. And you ignore them, and then you get arrested and you go to jail. That's how it works. If I would have signed that contract, I'm sure I would not have gone to jail, and I would have $55 million extra, but I would have sold my soul. And this is what you have to do to become monumentally successful in the world today. You have to sell your soul and sell your sanity. That's why all these famous people talk such utter bullshit. That's why they say such garbage. That's why all the politicians vote against the interests of their own constituents. That's why most of the other large podcasters, YouTubers you can name are sellouts. That's why when I was canceled, they all stood up in unison and said, yes, he should be canceled. Yes, yes, because Susan called them and said, do you want to keep your YouTube channel? This is how it works. It's all a scam. So to decide to be sovereign takes a degree of bravery that most are not prepared for. after I turned that contract down, I said on every single podcast, they're going to put me in jail for something. I started saying it
did
over
say
and
it.
over and over.
I heard it.
Because I understand the world. And I knew what was going to happen. And what's going to happen at the end of this imaginary case I'm charged with, I don't know. Maybe I'll go to jail for 20 years. Maybe. But my sanity is not for sale. So do I want to sell my soul? Am I going to wear a dress? Am I going to...
Have you ever worn a dress?
Of course not. I'm not going to do anything stupid for the idea of my own safety.
Let me ask you this, is like...
The question I want to ask you, sir,
okay,
is if you were in my position, what would you do? And I want you to tell the truth. Would you have taken that money, and would you have certain ideas? Because you're the kind of guy who just insults people on the internet, and you don't even think you don't operate from a frame of honor.
Yeah.
So I'm asking genuinely.
But let me say this to you:
would you take the money and just sell your soul?
So the answer is no. You're not going to believe it. I don't have $55 million. I don't have a couple, to be honest. But you know this. You understand how crypto works. I
don't care about crypto. I'm asking about your soul,
but
your honor as a man.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you an example. Big money moves in crypto from a lot of people that don't deserve it. If you have influence in crypto, you know this. You make a tweet, hundreds of millions of dollars get thrown around instantly, right? Money moves. So you can assume that any person that has any sphere of influence is offered like very large deals to do things that probably are not morally or ethically correct. But like, who cares? You can get away with it.
Yeah.
I have sort of, you don't know me very well. You know me now. We're forming a relationship. You said friend when I handed you the coffee. Have sort of had like a one non-negotiable, which is my beliefs, my values, and my ethics. And I sort of think that if you do it the right way, I'll be honest with you, we could pull up my bank statement. I don't have $1 million right now. I've been offered millions for many deals that I decided were incorrect, I shouldn't take. And I've sort of came with the stance that if you do it the right way, you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you like stand by your values and your beliefs, you ultimately get to where you want to get to. And I believe that if I sold my soul, I probably wouldn't be sitting here on this podcast. I wouldn't be on YouTube posting this with millions.
So you're prepared to go to jail?
I believe I would rather go to jail than sell my soul to something. Because it's like, at what cost? You sell your soul, then what's left?
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's
like,
exactly right.
That's what you just said. I'm repurposing it, but it's like...
That's all you own.
Like, I don't want to go to jail. Am I afraid of jail? Like, yeah. Like, I don't want to go to jail. Like, respect to you, Tristan. Like, I don't know how y'all do it, but at a certain stage, if you're offered two options and one of them is worse than jail or jail, I think you kind of only have one choice there.
What's that choice? To sell your soul?
It's to go to jail. It's like, which one's worse?
It's funny, though, because you say that, and everyone I ask that question says that.
Okay.
But it's interesting, I seem to be the only person who chose that choice.
Do you believe that you're the only person that chose that?
Well, I don't know if I'm the only one, but there's a lot of people who clearly were happy to have a member of their team turns transgender to show the kids, or happy to say whatever Susan told them to in unison with a cancellation, or happy to agree with Israel, or happy to agree with LGBT, or happy to agree with BLM. There's a lot of people who instantly sign on the dotted line in unison, instantly. And they're the same people who sit and say, oh, if I had the choice, I'd never sell my soul. Where are they? We wouldn't be in the mess we were in if it wasn't just me and my brother doing this. The fact is only us two, basically, and a few others standing against the system is the reason we're in the mess we're in. If you don't currently have a criminal case, you're not important in the fight against the system. If you're not currently, like myself, like Assange, like Roger Ver, like Russell Brand, like Trump, like if you're not currently going to court, you're a nobody. You're either a nobody or you're on the wrong side.
That's crazy.
That's the reality. You're either on the wrong side or you're on the right side, but you're an insignificant pawn on the chessboard, and they're trying to take out the kings. If you're not living with a current attempted criminal conviction.
So what you're saying is if I don't have a case active and I haven't sold my soul, I'm just insignificant?
Unfortunately, yes.
That's crazy.
So once you get to a level of significance,
they're coming.
You're going to know, because they're going to raid your house. Because your ability to speak freely is directly correlated with your insignificance. The reason you can say what you think is because nobody listens.
Because nobody listens?
That's
crazy.
The second that people listen to you or care what you say, then they're gonna police your speech. So the First Amendment doesn't exist in the first place.
I don't know if I should feel good or bad about that.
Well, I mean, you could probably sleep easier than me. But then is your life goal to sleep?
No.
Like, is your life goal to be comfortable, and sleep easy, and not worry about the police coming and just do and make little podcasts? Or is your life goal to be remembered in one of the last periods of human history